Alrighty then. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and my lovely NBs. Today we are going to do another Town of 21 matchup here in Tooth and Tail Competitive. So today we're going to go back into Group E as we go and see Spacenut go up against Jordy here. Now, to go reiterate what the rules for Stage 2 of Group E is that they will be going through the premier maps, which in this case will be Reed Valley, Hagro Pass, The Ends, and Dockside. Game 1 will be randomized, and then Game 2 and 3 will be by loser's choice. All three games are going to be played. So even if a player goes up to 2-0, they still have to play the third one just so we can get the points and all that thing started. Now, of course, there is only one real special rule in one of these maps, and that is for Hagro Pass. There will be no moles within Hagro Pass. So hopefully we'll be able to see those in that particular map. Now, with that out of the way, we did do a Group E matchup earlier with Grace and Jordy, and Jordy was able to come up on top. So now we're going to go ahead and dive into Spacenut and Jordy, and we'll see if Jordy has been able to take care of both of his opponents within this group, or if Spacenut is able to try and make things a little bit more interesting here as we dive in. So, going over into Hagro Pass, starting things off as looking in, there are no moles whatsoever, which is good here. But we see that Jordy will be starting off with the Owl as his opening, while Spacenut gonna open up with some squirrels. So very interesting start here, as Jordy seems to be big on trying to get the Owl opening. So looking at both of these compositions, Spacenut really only relying on the squirrels as his tier 1, while Pigeon is also a tier 1. It's not really super reliable until like maybe late game when we see a tier 3 come out, or possibly a little bit of tier 2 late. Meanwhile, they also have the Falcon Skunk combination and Boar and Owl combination. Meanwhile, for Jordy is kind of doing the same thing, but having Squall in the actually. Oh, let me double check and make sure that is, because I'm pretty sure this is Hagro Pass, right? Because I don't think that's allowed. Let me double check. Really click on the Steam community page, because now I just now realized that the moles are in the composition of Jordy, but I don't know if, well, actually it is randomized, so I can't really necessarily know how that randomization works for them, but I think, yeah, this is Hagro Pass, so I don't know if we're gonna have this be a little bit of an issue. I guess it's something we have to talk with Gent about, because he's the one that's running this event. But we're gonna go ahead and see things doing, and of course, I was gonna say maybe if it doesn't be used, it'll be fine. But he did put down a mole warren, so we'll just see how it plays. We'll just see how it plays out for this one. So we're still gonna cast it, gonna continue on. I'll probably talk with Gent about this, but we'll see what the discussion is about how this happens, if in case Jordy does get the win. I imagine it could be an automatic DQ, but we're not too sure. But it looks like the moles, even though the moles are out, they're not being charged or anything here, so maybe they're just vibing? Maybe? I'm not too sure. But meanwhile, as we await for the Badger and Owl coming out from Jordy's end, meanwhile, Space does have an Owl on the ready on his own. So, yep, and now we're seeing the moles be utilized. So, yeah, I might have to talk with with a gent about this. So give me a little bit of a chance to talk with him for a second. So sorry if there isn't any talking for me for a little bit in this one, as I kind of get a little bit of a confirmation with this. But yeah. So as we going into it, Jordy is going to get into his second mill, while meanwhile Spacenut is still farming up as much as he can. And Spacenut going really big here on the 4 owls here, and also putting in some more tier 2. So a lot of Falcon Skunks, Falcon Skunks, excuse me. A lot of Falcons. We see a lot of owls getting placed here. We do see that a couple of tier 3s are supply pox due to the situation, and now we're seeing the moles trying to get utilized once again. And of course, as that happens, the owl does come in clutch as he pops in to stop any sort of mole shenanigans from happening once again. Oh, snap. Okay, again, sorry guys for the quietness. Just trying to make sure to get things cleared up at the moment. Do. Okay, sorry about that. I just, sent the message over to Jordy, but hopefully I didn't miss too much. It looks like that Jordy has fully farmed up here. Meanwhile, we do see that Spacenut is started his 3rd mill, and all of his army is just about ready to go, as we see that 7 Falcons are already out, and it looks like that Spacenut is looking to possibly dive into it here. As now the focus comes in, as a lot of the couple of owls do end up going down, but it looks like Jordy is going out and about here with this game, as Spacenut just absolutely slaughtered Jordy's army in just a few moments. And it looks like the Spacenut might be able to get the victory, even with the disadvantage of not having any moles, as Spacenut does take game number 1. So, with the fact that Jordy does take the L, Spacenut will be able to win, so I guess it doesn't really matter too much. But, very good opening there for Spacenut, as game number 1 has sealed the deal. And really, it wasn't even close, considering the army disparity, and of course the economy disparity that happened, as well as Spacenut was just way too far ahead in both eco in the early game, and just bought a whole bunch of stuff in the late game. So that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles in this one. So really excellent game there for Spacenut, as he was able to take game number 1. Alrighty then. Let's go ahead and dive on into game number 2 between Spacenut and Jordy. Alrighty then, so now we're going into this lovely little map, which I believe, let me double check to make sure that this is Reed Valley here, this interesting, like, pretty much close to each other battle, as Jordy is looking to hopefully get a win, and we see both sides putting in an arty at the same time, using that arty strat. As we go ahead and look into both compositions, Spacenut has a squirrel and a mole combination, as we do have a falcon combining with the falcon and the ferrets, with only having owl as the only tier 3, as well as the big arty. Now we're seeing moles coming out for Spacenut, and diving into Jordy's composition is just only squirrel this time. Meanwhile, 2 tier 3s with the wolf and owl, while the tier 2s are ferrets and falcons, along with the 1 arty. But now the arties are going absolutely haywire. We'll see what gets destroyed first, and it looks like Jordy's arty is able to survive. And now Spacenut having to desperately have to go back, as now the arty play worked out better on Jordy's end, so he will automatically lose that mill outright. And so Spacenut now in a bit of a struggle, but he has to get rid of that arty first and foremost. And the good thing about him is that, oh no, he lost it. I was gonna say that with the fact that the moving the ferret around could possibly help out in taking out the thing, but now Jordy is at a really good advantage of possibly taking this outright with the amount of damage the ferret is going to do here. But they are able to get rid of the 1 ferret left, and so Spacenut's going to have to try and utilize not just one, but probably both of the ferrets in order to take that arty down, which I think that's what he plans on doing. He is going to go farm up a couple of things to be able to pack up what little army that he has on this map. And that's the one thing that's really interesting about this map in itself, as the arty will not go down as too much power is coming in on Jordy's end. He is really ahead on both an army and economy, and this might be his game here, as now, yeah, this game is pretty much set in stone, as it's just too much firepower. While, yes, Jordy is not going to be able to get it done on this wave, the damage is still coming down, as both of the ferrets are still alive. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be a tap from Spacenut, as there's nothing that he can really do here. As, I mean, I don't know if he's just waiting or something, but the game will go over to Jordy as a quick tie, 1 apiece, as they end up going ahead and take a quick tying it up very quickly. So really good battle between these two, as Jordy was able to win the arty battle outright. So very good shot there from Jordy. All right, so we're now heading into game number 3. Will Spacenut be able to try and seal the deal, or will Jordy be able to win both of his matches within this group? And now we are here going over to the dock side, I believe is what this is called. So, this one's a very interesting one here, as we see that all 16 farms of both of these players are fully filled up, and there's only like 1 campsite that is on the ready, which Spacenut has taken early. And it looks like Spacenut is willing to go ahead and go big or go home, as he's already put 3 tier 3s, and it looks like that. Actually, no, he put 4 tier 3s. I guess like with the rules with this one is the fact that you can have up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units instead of the regular 6 that we usually see in these matches. Meanwhile, for Jordy, he's got 4 tier 3s of his own with Badger, Owl, Fox, and Wolf, as well as balloons to tie into just only having mainly tier 2 as his main attacks. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong person. Mainly tier 2 as his secondary unit to fight behind. So this is a very interesting situation here, as Spacenut has set up the campfire site pretty well, and with that he can go ahead and burrow over into this area as well to possibly have a faster time in scouting. So this campfire is a really big play to have, because even if it's out, it is a huge advantage over to whoever has it, because it makes it scouting a little bit easier with all this water that's coming out and about, making a lot of units slower. So this is a very, very, very interesting map that we see here. As Spacenut going pretty big here on the owls, as well as putting down a wolf and a badger. And it just seems like that both players are getting ready to start a huge fight here. As I would say that you have to give this to the badgers a little bit, as badger is now fully revved up. One of them is lost though, but the wolf is going to go down here. So now that things are kind of aiming up the split, but it looks like the first badger is going to go down, and the wolf is going to be lost here as well. And what seemed like a very decent fight for Jordy ended up being disastrous here on his end, as the one badger is able to clean up house. It seems like, but the battle is still on Jordy's end, and it looks like that Jordy, even with the losing of all of his tier 3s, the ferret's doing some very significant damage here. And meanwhile, Spacenut is just struggling to try and keep all of his units alive, but now he's finally trying to fend off the units, and Jordy is finally able to lose all of his units in that battle. But Spacenut lost so much in that fight alone. Meanwhile, Jordy still farming up very, very well here. Oh, wrong button. As we look at the chart real quick, as we see the economy just plummets for Spacenut in this current juncture. So while Spacenut was able to finally fend off Jordy's army and take out a good percent of it, it makes it a lot more difficult. And now Jordy is looking to possibly try and finish things up, as while Spacenut does still have both mills at this point, one of the mills is completely gutted, and there might not be much of a point of trying to get a couple of farms that he lost in this one. So he's going to try his best to build up his army as much as possible with a massive amount of owls in this case, as well as having another badger on the way as well. But it is supply blocked at the moment, which it will still continue to, as we do see a quick sell from the owl, just so it can build. But now we're seeing Jordy once again doing a little poking, which forces Spacenut to have to go into this fight. We'll see if it fares a lot better for him, as we're seeing that the tier 1 of the mice is kind of feeding the badgers a little bit. And now, once again, Spacenut struggling against Jordy's composition, as we're seeing a lot of units start going down, and that'll pretty much be game, as both badgers are revved up for Jordy. And yeah, that's going to have to be GG's. Jordy will be taking game 3 after a great effort there from Spacenut, but Spacenut's going to let Jordy have this one the old style instead of tapping out. So GG's all around over to Jordy, as he does take his second match of this group. GG's all around.